Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Carrot Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2013 animated comedy movie titled Freebirds. Now, Freebirds is perhaps what you would call a Thanksgiving movie. If so, you like to put that term loosely. Personally, I think this movie is more of an anti-Thanksgiving movie per se. But anyways, who am I to judge? Well, of course I'm going to judge because that's my specialty. I review movies, but anyhow, everybody has the right to judge whatever movie that they see, whether they like it or whether they don't. You know, that's the beauty of reviewing movies. There's no right or wrong answers, just simple observations and judgments and evaluating, and that's what it is. There's no right, there's no wrong answer. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions. Anyhow, the runtime of this movie is 1 hour and 31 minutes long. It is directed by Jimmy Hayward. It is produced by Scott Mosier. The script was written by Jimmy Hayward and Scott Mosier. The story was done by David I. Stern and John Strauss. It is composed by Dominic Lewis. It is edited by Chris Cartagena. And it features the voice talents of Owen Wilson, Woody Harrelson, Amy Poehler, George Takei, Colm Meaney, Keith David, Dan Fogler, Jimmy Hayward, Kaitlyn Maher, Carlos Alazraqui, Jeff Biancalana, Danny Carey, Carlos Ponce, Robert Beltran, Lesley Nichols, Jason Finazzo, Scott Mosier, Lauren Bolds, Dwight Howard, and Josh Lawson. Okay, so not every animated movie has to focus on a certain holiday-based theme or an issue that is of great concern. But this movie, Freebirds, would have provided something for us with a little spark or some level of entertainment for both kids and adults alike to enjoy. The kids can enjoy the wonderful, animated effects, talking animals, cute, adorable characters, something to gravitate to. And adults, something that will not necessarily insult their intelligence. Just by finding, deep-rooted meanings behind what is going on. However, it ranks quite low on the entertainment level, lacks in anything regarded as funny, and never seems to poke fun at the basis of Thanksgiving traditions. Though the cartoon elements will have an appeal to the kids due to its lightweight innocence, the movie has this weird fascination to trigger the traditions we become accustomed to by rewriting history and changing the landscape of our history. And by changing the landscape of our history. In other words, of course, we all know that during Thanksgiving, what do? We sit on the table, we eat turkey, along with all the other foods that come with it, like the mashed potatoes, the gravy, the stuffing, the cranberry sauce, the meat pie, the salads, you name it. We all have one big epic dinner, and then we sit around and watch either a football game, or in the United States, they usually watch Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. We in Canada, we have our Thanksgiving a month before theirs. Theirs is like the last Thursday. In the United States, their Thanksgiving is the last Thursday in November. Ours in Canada is the second Monday in October. But of course, they celebrate Thanksgiving with a much more deep-rooted story about how the Pilgrims and the Native Americans, sat and had an epic meal, and then of course, as you all know, the rest is history. Most of it not very compromising or very good. But nonetheless, it has always been kind of a tradition. A family tradition. Whether you're from the United States or from Canada. We do the same thing too. We eat turkey and all the other food alternatives that go together with turkey. And we watch CFL football. But of course, in this kind of movie of this trajectory, what it wants to do something called revisionist history. Of course, movies of this trajectory like to sort of break through traditional customs. And the result of this movie is that it's not a pro-Thanksgiving movie, it's an anti-Thanksgiving movie. Because after all, they want to take away something that we have become accustomed to for so long, just to have another spin of it, and just to kind of indoctrinate kids that eating turkey is bad, and that we should eat something else for Thanksgiving, or better yet, cancel Thanksgiving, period. That's kind of like what they have in their frame of mind. And it's not based on race or politics, it's based on some kind of anti-traditional agenda that seems to spark the minds of these people behind this movie. And sure, the concept was interesting on paper, but Freebirds has these mood shifts that rock between taking a simple premise and then going all in to make matters more complex than it really should. I mean, you know what? I'm willing to forgive this whole revisionist history by trying to go back in time, save the turkeys from being eaten, and to just take it from there. Why do they have to make things more complex and more difficult to understand than it should? It should be a light-hearted movie for kids to enjoy. But instead they had to go all out to make things more complex than it really should. And then for that, I don't see the necessity. So Owen Wilson provides the voice of our leading turkey named Reggie, who felt like an outcast to the members of his species. On the one hand, he is, a very intelligent and resourceful, and perhaps maybe a little bit more world aware of issues that take place within the turkey community. He's like an outcast to the members of his species, which is not a bad thing per se about him being an outcast to the members of his species. Like I said, being that he's more smarter and more alert than the other turkeys. And that is being that he is very, very, very much quite aware of his surroundings. He knows why his fellow turkeys are getting fattened up. Even though they don't know it, because what do they know? They're just a bunch of stupid turkeys who don't have a fucking clue what's going on. The farmer seems to be spoiling them by giving them all kinds of food to eat and practically spoiling them. But the farmer is not doing it out of good intentions. He's fattening up these turkeys mainly because, as a time-honored tradition, they are soon going to become chow for Thanksgiving. But the thing is that Reggie knows what's coming. He knows what is this all leading to. But the turkeys within his flock, they don't know. They're just a bunch of stupid turkeys who seem to comply to their farmers' force-feeding habits just so that they could eat a lot, get fat, and then get eaten for Thanksgiving. Sold to markets, sold to families, so they can have that good old traditional Thanksgiving turkey dinner. But Reggie, by luck, gets full pardon. Yes, he becomes what is called a pardoned turkey. So he actually gets to ride with the president, where he later retreats to Camp David, where he is living more comfortably, consuming pizza, along with the joys of watching telenovelas on television. Now, this is kind of interesting that the president in this movie was portrayed by a white guy, sounding more like Bill Clinton. But when this movie came out in 2013, Obama was president. I guess they just didn't want to, parody Obama in a comedy, in a movie of this trajectory because, I guess for fear of retribution or something. So now Reggie is living the life of luxury at Camp David, eating pizza and watching telenovelas on TV, enjoying the life. Suddenly, a spontaneous fellow turkey by the name of Jake, voiced by Woody Harrelson, sends Reggie on a time machine where they will teleport back to 1621 to stop the pilgrims from killing turkeys so that they could freely ever from becoming Thanksgiving dinner. Oh, by the way, the time machine's name is Steve, and he is voiced by George Takei. Now, the reason and purpose for Jake's visitation with Reggie is because he claims to be like of some sort of secret society where he's subservient to the Great Turkey, and it's up to Reggie, by approval from the Great Turkey, to go back in time to save the turkeys from the pilgrims, who of course are going to kill the birds and have them for Thanksgiving. So climbing into a time machine known as Steve, voiced by George Takei, into 1621, we see turkeys on the threat of getting killed and eaten by an evil hunter by the name of Captain Miles Standish, voiced by Colm Meaney, for a female turkey who goes by the name of Jenny, voiced by Amy Poehler, who's the chief's daughter and love interest for Reggie. Now, usually in a lot of these Thanksgiving stories or these epic movies of this sort, it always seems to be a battle between pilgrims versus Native Americans. And although the Native Americans are not featured as much in this movie, it's pretty much the turkeys are just filling in the voids of the Native Americans. I mean, they seem to have a bit more Native American sort of spirituality and culture injected in them, but they're not going as far as to stereotype or offend, and they try to do everything they can to, I guess, keep safe from any kind of people getting either triggered or offended. But yeah, that's what it is. If that's the case, then why is the female turkey's name Jenny? I mean, if she's supposed to be portrayed kind of like as a Native American type turkey, could she have come with some kind of almost like Native American type name? Just a suggestion. Under the direction from Jimmy Hayward, who almost had his directing job killed with the god-awful Jonah Hex, Hayward has decided to return to his roots, like a comeback to him for some extent. Though it works out nicely as a comedy and might do at some levels of service to keep the younger age demographics enthralled in its 90-minute duration with its quick pacing and quick comedic energy. However, it's very half-baked in its efforts to please the older viewers due to its repetitive turkey puns. You know, any type of movie that has a certain animal theme to it, these puns tend to really get your gizzards grilled. See, now they're even making me do it. And of course, you know, these repetitive turkey puns is sickening. Well, sickeningly repetitive. The muddled one-liners and the formulaic slapstick. It just gets tired after a while. The idea of time travel is hardly made reference to, even to be labeled as an afterthought. I mean, Steve appears in a few episodes here or there, but the whole idea of time travel sounds like a good idea, but it's really hardly ever used. And it's only used just to go back to 1621 to stop the first traditional Thanksgiving from happening, so that we can rewrite history and that turkeys does not become the main dish during the dinner feast between Pilgrims and Native Americans. The idea, okay, the movie focuses primarily on Reggie and his fixation for pizza as a form of anything deemed hilarious, and Jake just acting wild and dumb. The whole theme eventually gets stale very fast, and while it might have some level of intrigue at first glance, the gags lack adventure, and the spark quickly short circuits. Like I said, time machine, short circuit. See, they even got me doing it. The idea of traveling back through time had potential to be something of intrigue. Nothing ever seems mentioned of it. While staying in the year 1621, there are no conflicts between Pilgrims and Native Americans. Instead, the sacrificial birds are the ones putting up the fight against the Pilgrims. And while iconic movie time-traveling classics like Back to the Future and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures have their titles mentioned in this movie, Freebirds hardly ever focuses on time travel to even get noticed. It's such a shame that such a perpetually underrated performer like George Takei's talents are wasted, just like the machine he voices. It gets rendered under the category of missed opportunity, while the emphasis of the movie is saturated with mundane conflicts and uninteresting characters. That's what it just all boils down to. I mean, where's the payoff to that? I ask myself. The climax to the movie, which should have the most exciting scene that sets up to an all-out confrontation, misses the mark completely. They kill off a principal character, but not in a conflicting way, but more in a manipulative manner, just to generate reaction over suspense, fear, or anger. The whole fireball incident was really only set up to keep those bored folks a level of noise to wake us up. So the fighting scenes was nothing exciting. When Jenny becomes initiated as the new chief after her father gets killed off, didn't require any level of grandeur accomplishment. I mean, she was pretty much just given the role just out of nepotism, just because she's the chief's daughter. Nothing more, nothing less. I mean, okay, it didn't come off as dark or racist or stereotyped or anything like that, but it just, the cartoon violence was more played for laughs. If it was like that, it would have been more sufficient instead of just anticlimactic and just made to be played safe. And sure, Freebirds is a comedy played for laughs. And of course, it's not to be taken seriously. I understand that. It's about suspending your disbelief. It's a cartoon. Turkeys don't talk, even though they say it, they do, but we all know they don't. And although the whole idea of breaking out of the traditional holiday like Thanksgiving by making us give up on turkeys is just almost like indoctrinating and saying anything that was born with a mother should not be eaten. I know that's kind of a bit of in the opinions towards people who seem to have a liberal state of mind by saying turkey bad, but pizza good. I mean, many times this movie, Calvin, has been compared with another movie about animals trying to set themselves free from being food. It kind of reminded me of that stop motion animated film that Mel Gibson voiced over 20 years ago called Chicken Run. Yeah, it kind of reminded me a bit of that. Where the turkeys are trying to free themselves from becoming Thanksgiving dinner. And sure, the concept might be original, but it's very manipulative and very indoctrinating, especially by trying to encourage kids not to eat turkey for Thanksgiving. And the worst thing is that if you're going to buy into this whole idea, you're crazy. It's a cartoon. It's supposed to suspend disbelief, but some people tend to also take this matter into a considerable idea. People can be whisked away into these kind of warped, crazy ideas, even though it's not meant to be that way. So I have a bit of mixed feelings about the whole theme. But if this was about turkeys fighting for their quest for survival to rewrite histories where turkeys are not being eaten traditionally every Thanksgiving, this film is not entirely focused on animal rights. So it's bad to eat turkeys. Turkeys should be off our list for Thanksgiving, right? That's what you're saying. But then again, if you ever looked at the pizza that Reggie eats, it's not a plain cheese or a vegetarian or Greek olive pizza. No. Reggie's pizza is topped with pepperoni and anchovies. And there's even a scene where somebody put anchovies on someone's pizza. And I think a Native American person said something like, "Oh, there's salty fish on my pizza. Oh boy. It tastes like dead socks. But, oh well, it's better than my wife's cooking." So, okay. So save the turkeys, but don't worry about pepperoni. Oh, and there's no save the fish thing either. But it's bad to eat turkey, but it's okay to eat pepperoni and anchovy pizza. That's still meat, isn't it? And one of the things also is that there was a lack of research when writing this movie to regard this as accurate. Okay, I know what you're saying. Hey, there's no such things as time machines named Steve either. And there's no such things as talking turkeys. But you should also take into consideration that the Pilgrims and the Native Americans did not eat turkey on the very first Thanksgiving. It was deer they ate. So that right away diminishes the accuracy this movie seems to want to make us believe. And sure, there were some funny lines and some quotes were quite memorable, especially from Amy Poehler, who I think turned in the best performance here. It's still badly flawed, uninspiring, and overall forgettable. That makes you just want to forget about this turkey of a movie. So I really don't think I will be able to recommend this movie too much. Maybe I'm looking too much into it. But no, this movie is definitely gone to the birds. And I really don't have much to say anymore about this movie. So therefore, if I was to give this movie a scale out of 10, I would give Free Birds a 5 out of 10. So I guess this ends my Write review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my YouTube channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember the 3 simple rules. Be kind, be courteous, and please don't be rude. And I will be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.